Snatching the crown was not my best moment looking back, but I meant it all in good fun.
Queen Victoria is speaking out and she says she's not a bully and has no regrets. Hey guys, welcome back to another shared news from home. We have got to unpack Queen Victoria's Good Morning America interview. But before we get into everything she said, if you're new here, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, and today I'm joined by the wonderful Avery Grooms.
Hi, Fiona.
So Avery, I know you and I have been talking about Victoria all season long. She has obviously earned herself the title of the villain of the season. Bachelor Nation has been very vocal on Twitter about her behavior. A lot of people are saying that she's crossed the line from villain to bully. So let's just dive right into this interview because she certainly had a lot to say. First of all, being the fact that she is not a bully.
I don't think so. Honestly, it was all in good fun. If my words or actions hurt anyone, like, I sincerely apologize and I'll do better and hold myself accountable. I'm not a bully.
So, while I'm really happy to hear her saying that she apologizes, that she wants to do better, and that she'll hold herself accountable, because I think that's something a lot of us had hoped for, watching her behavior play out this season. Can she really say that it was all in good fun and that she's not a bully? Like, is that enough at this point?
No, I don't think it's fun at all, especially the people on the other side getting bullied by her. And it's just the matter of the fact she's having this whole entire interview on Good Morning America over the idea of her being a bully. So she has to sit there and justify why she's not. And just apologizing for if her quote words or actions hurt anyone, it's not very sincere. She would have to actually acknowledge what she was doing to actually hurt people. I don't accept this apology whatsoever. It just seems fake. And I don't think it was in good fun. I don't think any of the girls found that fun. I feel like everyone was just annoyed and more hurt by her actions because there was haha, she's the villain. And then it kind of turned into, okay, this girl's actually bullying people left and right. Even when Sarah was gone, she still had something rude to say about her. And it's kind of like, okay, that's enough. Like, you're a grown woman. You shouldn't be acting like this, at least to this extent. So it's a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, and you know what? I am so glad you pointed out because I was just ready to be like, okay, she sort of is apologizing. You're right. Apologizing for if your behavior made someone feel a certain way is not the same thing as owning up to what you said or recognizing the damage you've done. So I'm on your team. This is not enough for me. I wonder every time she opens her mouth, if she's watching at home, what she's thinking. Does she stand by that? And she shed some light on what her thoughts have been as the show's been airing. She said,
I anticipated being well received. So to get the bullying messages and the hate mail and the death threats, wasn't really prepared for that at all.
Of course, want to take a moment here to say none of those things are ever okay. Does not matter how horrible her behavior is. We do not condone death threats. We do not condone hate because that's just adding fire to fire and doesn't help anyone. That being said, the one action that she wanted to sort of fess up and say didn't sit well with her was when she snatched the crown off of former Miss Puerto Rico Catalina's head during this week's episode. She said that was not her best moment looking back, and she then reiterated that all of her actions are in good fun. So I just think that that's interesting because to me that moment was, it was cringy, it was stressful, it was classic Victoria, but what about all of the other moments? What about the really intense confrontation she had with Sarah? What about the things she said to Marilyn? Like, why that moment out of all of them?
Literally, why that moment? What about her words that literally hurt people, made people cry? Even that moment was very cringe, especially for me, former pageant girl. If someone else touches the crown, the crown is precious, especially Victoria. She didn't earn that. So it was just kind of like a she did what moment. But once again, ridiculous. Yeah. I don't know why she feels the need to act like this, obviously, because she's probably insecure about herself. But you don't bring other girls down to feel better about yourself. And that's an ongoing pattern throughout this whole show with her. And it's not a good look. Like, I would not want to be sitting down with Good Morning America having this interview with them just because I'm the villain, because I'm the bully. Like, that's not a good look. And she's over here smiling, and she was almost taken back on not receiving like positive feedback from the character she was on the show. She said she expected to get better like feedback, which I thought was kind of crazy to me because you're on The Bachelor, you're acting like this. Obviously, the media is going to come after you and not like what she has to say. So, the whole situation, I think, could have been handled way better, but Victoria is Victoria and she'll continue to do her, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, she certainly will. They asked her point blank if she had any regrets. And her response was the other contestants knew me, knew my heart, knew that I never really have ill intent, which again, I'm just like left scratching my head. She said, I think they viewed it differently just because they know me. I don't think my kindness really got to show through, and I really do have a good heart. I actually became friends with one of the new girls. So there's a lot to unpack there. Um, Becoming friends with one new girl after being aggressively mean to pretty much all of them is sort of an against all odds kind of thing for me. That's just like sheer luck. That's not proof that you're a good person. But I guess my question, Avery, is can we really use the bad edit excuse? I feel like that's kind of what she's leaning into. Like, no, 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 you don't know my relationship with the other women. She was almost making it seem like they would stand up for her. And I know that the show paints people in the role that they, kind of cast them in. Clearly, producers cast her as the villain. But I just feel like she gave them a lot to work with. I don't know. What's your take?
I totally agree. I just don't understand how she's like, the girls knew I didn't have ill intent. The girls knew where my heart was because really I don't think they did. That's not what it looks like. Of course we don't see everything, but just from watching the show, you can kind of see which girls are like starting to become closer with each other, groups starting to form. And Victoria's not in any of those. She's only in the conversation when she wants to talk badly about someone or if something went wrong. It's always something with like a negative tone and her like amplifying that. So once again, that just like plays into the notion that she is a villain, she is a bully, and I don't think any of her actions justify like the girls knew where my heart was. They know I'm just messing around because really, like I feel like she almost in her head is playing a character, so she's kind of thinking like, "Oh, I could do this on the show and get away with it," but they know where I really stand and like that's not really the case unless you verbally say that. So,
Right. And the other thing is, like, I'm just thinking about some of the other women we've gotten to know. We've sort of gotten to know Katie. We're seeing more and more of her. And she seems like she's someone who calls it like she sees it, stands up for, things right from wrong, definitely isn't afraid to, advocate for the other women and for herself. And she sat Victoria down and has had a problem with her. I trust Katie's judgment. I think if Katie knew Victoria's heart was really so kind and pure, why would she have done that? We saw Sarah, someone who certainly was going through a lot. There was a lot of chaos involved in that situation, but I will never forget the moment Victoria followed her outside and was like so comforting for a few seconds and was like, we're good, we're girls, we get each other. Cut to the next day, she's basically saying, why would you think you have any friends in this house? So I'm not sure that we can chalk this up to a bad edit and us viewers at home just not getting her intent. I guess we'll never really know for sure. But let's move on to something that they also discussed, which is completely separate from her behavior on the show. And that is a mugshot from 2012 that has recently surfaced again online. She was actually arrested for shoplifting at a grocery store in Florida. She attempted to steal, I think it was like over $250 worth of merchandise. And obviously, this was a long time ago. This is something from her past, but she is a public figure. It is a hot topic. So Twitter did its thing and it sort of went viral. She told Good Morning America when the story initially broke, I called my dad, and her dad asked her how she felt. And actually, she told him, she said she felt liberated. She said, quote, everything is exposed. I can tell my future husband, Google me. I have no secrets to hide. And I definitely think, all things considered, that is a good take. She should feel liberated. Everyone has stuff in their past. We're not going to, judge her for that. I want to hone in on, though, the future husband comment, because I don't think she's winning this show. I don't think you think she is. But is that sort of a nod to the fact that she doesn't end up with Matt? I mean, what do you make of that?
I have to start off by saying I do agree that was a really good answer. That I feel liberated. My future husband can Google me because she has like nothing to hide now. But I think it's just obvious to everyone. Like, no one ever thought she would end up with Matt, and it's clear as the show goes on that they're not getting any closer. There's no chemistry. He doesn't have eyes for Victoria. We all know why she's still on the show, and that's been very clear, and I think she knows it too. So when people go on these interviews, you could tell they're very prepped and like are very careful with their words not to say anything. But when she said this, I don't even think she was thinking she had anything to hide because she's not giving anything away. We all know as an audience, Victoria is probably not in the top 4. She's probably leaving within the next couple of weeks. So whatever, if she sold herself out, it wasn't really doing much.
Well, you mentioned her connection with Matt, and I have to say I agree with you. I didn't see an instant spark there. I didn't see them form a quick bond. I haven't seen, sparks fly at really any point. And that's okay. Maybe she's not the girl for Matt. Maybe he's not the guy for her, but we're definitely, the longer she sticks around, the longer that connection is going to be called into question. For Matt's part though, whenever he's been directly asked about Victoria since the show has begun airing, he's always had nice things to say. On Bachelor Happy Hour earlier this month, he told Rachel Lindsay that Victoria is hilarious. He said she's one of the wittiest people he's ever met. She's unapologetically herself. She's the quickest. You'll say something and she's got something and then she's out, which is actually a pretty great assessment of Victoria. Obviously, taking out sort of the negative energy that she puts with those comments. Matt is, of course, a gentleman. I would expect nothing less from him. I don't think he's going to put any of these women that, gave up time to come on his season down publicly. But I am curious how you think behind the scenes he's reacted, after watching her behavior with Marilyn or watching her behavior with Sarah, someone he really did care about who ultimately sent herself home. I mean, I have to imagine he wasn't thrilled.
No, I feel like as the lead of the show, they almost kind of like to have a character like this or a villain just because it kind of takes off the pressure and all the eyes on them, and it almost like adds for some like lighthearted scenes, not lighthearted, but some contrast to where it's not all the focus is on Matt. And I think just being a lead, they can like kind of appreciate that. Obviously, he's not pursuing Victoria that much, but kind of takes away from all the pressure. I feel like he explained this in an interview. I don't remember who it was, but I could see like him finding a happy medium in that. No, I don't think he appreciates her actions very much, but I also don't think he's looking that into it. I think he's just dealing with it when it comes to him and then moving on and putting his attention on the other girls.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, we haven't seen this play out yet, but we know that after Katie told Matt, the gossip, the rumors, they're getting out of hand, we know he's going to confront the women next week. So I definitely think, Matt went into this knowing that he's not going to fall in love with every single woman there. He's willing to be a good sport, let the producers, have their picks, let him have his, but it seems like he has a line, and maybe Victoria's crossed it. So very interesting to see how all of that's going to play out in the 5th episode of the season. Circling back to our girl Victoria, she's obviously quite the character. Do we want to see this character again in the future? Sometimes villains pop back up in paradise. Sometimes they go off and they live quiet lives out of the spotlight. Do we want to keep up with her? Do we want to see her, maybe find love within this franchise again? I don't know that I do. How do you feel as of right now?
I can't say that I want to see her again, but as we've seen, villains and characters on the shows are basically made for paradise. That's where they're like destined to end up because that's where they thrive. Like Bennett, for example, he was such a character. He's definitely someone you feel like you'll see on Paradise. I feel like Victoria is such a character, also a villain. And that's what they love on that show because they like even more contrast. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw her there. I don't really want to see any more of her though. I'm kind of tired of it, to be honest. Like I was tired of seeing Bennett, but it is kind of funny sometimes, I have to say, until she crosses the line and it's way too hurtful. But
Hmm.
kind of over it at this point. But I definitely think we'll probably see her on Paradise if she takes the offer.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, if they do offer it to her and we do see her, I would love to see some growth because you're right. Sometimes she's hilarious. Sometimes her comments are sort of spot on. I know there have been a few times where I've been like, well, shoot, that's kind of what I was thinking. I wouldn't have said it there to the women, but I get where she's coming from. So if we could see a little personal growth, maybe a slightly new communication style, who knows? She could do really well for herself in Paradise. On that note, you guys, we want to know what you think. What did you make of this Good Morning America interview? Did you buy some of those apologies? Do you feel like there is a future for her in Bachelor Nation that you would be interested in? Let us know down in the comments. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring. I was joined by the incredible Avery Grooms. If you want to come say hi, our social handles are on the screen right now. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.